It is January 15th. We are less than a month away from the NBA trade deadline, and January 15th is a special day in regards to trade season because a lot of the guys who signed free agent deals in the summer of 2023 are now available to be traded. And so between now, January 15th, all the way to February 8th, it is just going to be staring at Twitter looking for deals, hoping something is happening. Because the Sacramento Kings had a lot of cap space in the summer, and there was a lot of talk about, are they going to make a big splash in free agency? They didn't. We ran back pretty much the same team with a few additions and a few departures. But now that trade season is upon us, the Kings again are rumored to be in the market for some big names. And until the Kings actually make a move, they are going to be consistently rumored with every big name, every time someone's available at the trade deadline, in the summer, whatever it is, until the Kings actually make a splash. They're always going to be rumored with these names because they have assets, they have contracts to be able to match salary in Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and a few others. All of the first round picks except for the 2024 one, which is going to Atlanta in that Kevin Huerter deal. Most second round picks. And I think right now, when it comes to untouchables on the Kings roster, it's very clearly Fox, Sabonis, Murray, and then Monk is an interesting one because he's part of the core four, but he's also on an expiring deal. But he's so important to the team, it's very hard to see him being traded. And it seems like the Kings will do whatever they have to do to retain him over the summer. So there have been a lot of names that the Kings have been rumored to be going after, to be interested in. And a lot of them are the same names that we saw over the summer, whether it be for trade over the summer or in free agency. And so the main ones are Kyle Kuzma, Pascal Siakam, Jerami Grant, and now Zach Lavine. Kyle Kuzma and Jerami Grant were two guys that were mentioned that the Kings could sign in free agency last summer. But Jerami Grant got a bag from Portland, and it was reported that Kyle Kuzma turned the Kings down. But most of the guys that the Kings are rumored to be going out and trying to get have something in common, and that is they are wing players and usually bigger wing players. Zach Lavine, the exception, but I think those Zach Lavine rumors might be coming from somewhere else other than within the Kings organization. And a lot of these rumors, it's hard to know what really is the truth and where these rumors are coming from. Could be the Bulls leaking things, could be the Raptors, with the Siakam stuff. And so it's hard to know what the truth is. But let's talk about each one of these guys and each one of the possible deals that the Kings could make. So starting with Kyle Kuzma, the Kyle Kuzma one is very, very intriguing. And he was a guy that I definitely wanted the Kings to go out and get in free agency. And like I said, the reports are he turned the Kings down. He wanted a bigger role with the Washington Wizards. But now, well, he can be traded, so he won't have a choice. But also the Wizards are such a mess. Like, does he really want to be on that team anymore? He would obviously fit in a lot of ways. And he's not the defensive stopper that maybe the Kings are looking for. But I think the same can be said for a lot of the top end guys that the Kings would be going for. Siakam and Jerami Grant are very similar. I think we've seen with both Jerami Grant and Kyle Kuzma, when they had lesser offensive roles, they were very good defensive players. And as their offensive roles increased, they became less and less known for their defense. And I think that makes sense. And it's very normal for, as offensive load increases, the defensive performance decreases. And so for both of them, it would really be about how much they buy in to a new role, because I think both of them, they provide size and length that the Kings desperately need, would easily slot into Harrison Barnes' spot in the starting lineup and be a massive improvement in pretty much every way possible. And I think the only way that it wouldn't improve the Kings, both offensively and defensively, is if you didn't get buy-in from both of those guys, or from either of those guys. I think another intriguing part of both the Kuzma and Grant deals are players that could be included alongside of them as kind of throw-in pieces to any deal. Because what the Kings would most likely be sending out, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, are both possibilities. It could be both of them, especially for Grant's salary. Kuzma's deal is very team friendly. It's decreasing year after year, and it's not nearly as big as Jerami Grant's. It's not as long as Jerami Grant's. And so you wouldn't necessarily need to include both Barnes and Huerter, and it would be great to be able to keep Huerter in that type of deal. And you'd most likely be sending out draft capital. But the guys that could be included alongside of a Kuzma that could make an impact on the Kings are a guy like Tyus Jones or Daniel Gafford or DeLon Wright. Tyus Jones and DeLon Wright, two of the best backup point guards in the league, and in DeLon Wright's short time in Sacramento, he was one of my favorite rotational players for the Kings, and it's still very confusing why we traded him for Tristan Thompson. And Tyus Jones has obviously been known to be one of the best backups for the Grizzlies for a long time. And it was very interesting the short time that the Wizards had Monte Morris along with those other two, and they had like three of the best backup point guards. That's kind of what everyone was saying. But obviously the Kings have Malik Monk as the creator off the bench, but it would never hurt to get more offensive creation. And then especially with a guy like DeLon Wright, he is an amazing defender and amazing at getting steals and deflections, which is something that the Kings could definitely use off the bench, because right now the Kings have 8 guys in the rotation and that are like pretty set. It would be great to be able to make that a 9 guys if we could get, a throw in with a Kuzma, Daniel Gafford being a big off the bench that could provide shot blocking and rebounding and things like that. And then along with Jerami Grant, the main guy would be Matisse Thybulle that I would want thrown in alongside him. And I think out of all the deals possible that the Kings could make, the one that would improve the Kings the most would be going out and getting both Jerami Grant and Matisse Thybulle. And in that scenario, in terms of salary, you would probably be sending out both Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes. And so the starting lineup would be Fox and then probably Thybulle in this scenario with Keegan Murray, Jerami Grant, and Domantas Sabonis with Monk off the bench. And Jerami Grant is a great scorer, very similar to Kuzma in that respect. But then Matisse Thybulle would come in, and he has been one of the best wing defenders in the league for a very long time. And being able to pair Keegan Murray and Matisse Thybulle together would give the Kings so much more versatility defensively, because we're coming into a game, as of recording this tomorrow, we're playing against the Suns, who have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. And we just don't have enough guys to be able to defend all three of them. You can throw a Fox on Beal, Keegan on one of Booker or Durant. And then it's like, we throw Barnes on Durant? I mean, it kind of worked last time we played the Suns, but I don't expect that to go very well every time. So to get more defensive versatility would be big. Matisse Thybulle has been shooting well from 3. I believe he's at 37% on the year so far. Even though Kevin Huerter's been inconsistent this season, Huerter definitely has a lot more gravity as a three-point shooter. And so it definitely would be a swap from offense to defense in that position. But then you look at the addition of Jerami Grant, and that helps the offense a lot. So I think this could only help in both aspects, a trade for Jerami Grant and Matisse Thybulle. Then moving on to a big rumored name in Pascal Siakam. And there is a short 2-hour window where the Kings were heavily interested. It was reported in Siakam. Now, is that true? Or was that a Raptor rumor to try to drum up interest? It seems like the latter is more plausible, that it was made up by the Raptors, because immediately, like 2 hours later, it was shot down and the Kings exited talks. And it was then reported that it was Malik Monk that the Raptors were asking for in that type of deal. And it was also reported that Siakam would not re-sign with the Kings. So I feel like just that right there, Siakam not wanting to re-sign with the Kings, kind of there's no point in really talking about this deal anymore, because why would we do that? Why would we trade for a very short-term rental? It doesn't make much sense. The other big rumor is Zach Lavine. And the thing about Zach Lavine is, in terms of cost to acquire, he is probably the least out of any of these guys. And the Bulls might even have to attach assets to get rid of him. And so that's what makes this so interesting. He's a 3-year deal. Obviously, it's a big deal, but if they're going to attach assets to him, that definitely makes it more enticing, not having to give up a lot, because obviously he's just a massive upgrade in talent. If you're going from Kevin Huerter to Zach Lavine, Zach Lavine is an incredible scorer. He doesn't add anything defensively, and so he wouldn't improve that area. The Kings would still need to make improvements there. That's why I don't love this deal, obviously. But you can never have too much offensive talent. And I think you look at last season, the Kings had the best offensive rating. But that definitely doesn't mean they had the best offense. When you look at the Nuggets, I mean, their offense is better. A lot of other teams, like come playoff time, their offense was better than ours. I also think our defense can improve come playoff time because we're playing a shorter rotation and we're more locked in. So I think the defense come playoff time improves a little bit and the offense kind of takes a step back. Adding a guy like Lavine would definitely improve the offense there. Just another guy that can create with the ball in his hands, which is something that we could definitely use. And then the last kind of rumor that I've seen, there have been so many rumors. If I'm missing any rumors, let me know. But one that I just saw that it's interesting, and that is the Kings being one of the teams interested in Clint Capela. And the reason that this is especially interesting right now is because we just saw the Kings play the Bucks. And for the first time all season, we saw a two big lineup with Domantas Sabonis and Alex Len playing together against Giannis. Really, that was it. We're playing two bigs because of Giannis. Sabonis has shot pretty well from 3 this year, and we know Alex Len can shoot as well a little bit. And so while the spacing isn't great, there is some 3-point shooting from both of them there. So if you were to add a guy like Capela in, that would give the Kings rim protection. It would give the Kings more rebounding, which, I mean, do we need that? We're already a good rebounding team, but you can never have enough, or too much, that is. I don't know. I don't really love a trade like that, but I think where the interesting part could be is Dejounte Murray has been a guy that's been talked about being on the trade block. And another thing that's been mentioned is the Hawks possibly putting Murray and Capela into a deal together. And so could the Kings get involved in something like that? I mean, it's possible. There's been a lot of talk about Dejounte Murray being a guy on the defensive side of the ball who's lived off of his early reputation a lot and isn't actually a good defender anymore. And the Hawks are just an insanely disappointing team. It's like, why did it not work out with all the talent that they have? And so it's just interesting. Could a guy like Dejounte Murray work on the Kings? He would obviously add ball handling and creation. You would hope that, again, kind of like a guy like Kyle Kuzma or Jerami Grant, that he could buy into a lesser role and become that defensive player that he was earlier in his career, adding length and size and improving the defense. Again, it would take away the shooting that Kevin Huerter provides at that 2 spot. But then if you're also getting a guy like Clint Capela to come in and be a backup center, there could be something there. But I think out of all these rumors, out of Zach Lavine, Jerami Grant, Clint Capela, Pascal Siakam, and Kyle Kuzma, the ones I like the best are just the ones that kind of were talked about in the summer. Kyle Kuzma and Jerami Grant. Jerami Grant, maybe add in a Matisse Thybulle. That would be amazing. Kyle Kuzma, especially with the team-friendly deal he's on, and if you could get just a solid another Wizards player attached to that deal. Like those two deals are ones that would really improve the Kings. The other ones, like a Siakam deal, a Clint Capela, or Dejounte Murray, a Zach Lavine deal, those I see a bit more risk to, whether it be contractually or just in terms of fit on the team, and whether it be a big contract like Lavine's or how short Pascal Siakam's contract is. And so for me, I would definitely be going after the Jerami Grant or Kyle Kuzma deal. But these are just the rumored ones. Monty McNair could come out of nowhere and just snag another guy, especially if he doesn't want to go for the big move and get that big name. Just adding another 3-and-D wing, just anybody, any rotational player would help immensely. And so I think other guys that fit that category, Marcus Smart, I don't think the Grizzlies are going to trade him, but the Grizzlies season is lost, so you never know. And he would be a guy that provides obviously the defensive intensity, former DPOY, but he also provides leadership, which is like vocal leadership. I think that's something the Kings could definitely use, because I think the Kings have a lot of, good guys on the team, guys that, if they do something wrong, they'll take accountability or whatever. But who's going to hold others accountable on the team? I don't really think, in terms of players, I don't think that's something we really have. And so leadership is definitely something he could provide. Alex Caruso, just anyone on the Bulls, those are guys that could definitely be available. Anyone on the Bulls, anyone on the Blazers, anyone on the Wizards, like those are guys that are going to be available. So Alex Caruso providing the defense and becoming a solid 3-point shooter would be a big help. And then other guys, just like Torrey Craig, Dorian Finney-Smith, who is apparently available for 2 first-round picks. I don't know about that price, but Dorian Finney-Smith is one of my favorite 3-and-D guys in the league. So I would love to have him on the team. Royce O'Neal, his teammate. Like, what's going on with the Nets? Could they blow things up because things aren't going well and you don't really have a first option on that team? Could Mikal Bridges become available? I think that's very possible. Maybe not at this trade deadline, but in the future. And that's why it is important to remain patient and remain flexible until the right deal really comes about, and that's when you go all in. And hey, maybe even a guy like DeMar DeRozan could be a target. Just a guy that can score. And the reason he would be an option, obviously he's older, doesn't really provide the defense that you would be looking for the Kings, but if you get him for cheap, he's an expiring deal, and so just another big talent upgrade and offensive firepower upgrade. But anyways, that is it. That's all the guys I have that the Kings could possibly be looking at to trade for. If you have any more, definitely let me know, or let me know which deals you want the Kings to go after. My eyes will be glued on Twitter for the next, about month. And just hopefully nothing happens between me ending this and posting it. I just want this video to actually have accurate information for, at least a few days before trades start happening. And it could be the entire, 3 weeks until the trade deadline. We might not see anything until right before the trade deadline, but it's still an exciting time, especially as a Kings fan. So if or when anything happens, I will be right back here to talk about it, and I will see you guys then. Peace.